The ocean covers more than 70% of the planet, and we have explored less than 5% of it. That means most of Earth is hidden beneath miles of black water, crushing pressure, and total darkness. Over the years, deep-sea expeditions, naval recoveries, and accidental discoveries have pulled things up from the ocean floor that were never meant to be seen again. Today we are counting down the top 10 disturbing finds recovered from the ocean floor. What they found on the ocean floor confirmed that the crew survived longer than anyone was told. In January 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds after launch. The disaster was broadcast live, and for years the public was told the crew died instantly. But when Navy and NASA teams began recovering debris from the Atlantic Ocean floor, they discovered something deeply disturbing. The crew cabin was found mostly intact, resting more than 1,000 feet below the surface. Inside, investigators recovered personal items, intact control panels, and most unsettling of all, possible evidence that at least some of the astronauts were conscious after the explosion. Several emergency oxygen packs had been manually activated. These packs could only be turned on intentionally. That could mean at least one crew member survived the initial breakup. The cabin hit the ocean at over 300 miles per hour, and no parachutes existed. There was no escape. The realization that the astronauts may have experienced a silent free fall for over 2 minutes before impact permanently changed how NASA classified crew fatalities. When they found the black boxes, they finally learned how everyone died. Air France Flight 447 disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean in June 2009 while traveling from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. For 2 years, the aircraft remained lost, scattered across the ocean floor nearly 13,000 feet below the surface. When robotic submersibles finally located the wreckage, investigators recovered the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. What those devices revealed was disturbing. The plane had not exploded, it had not broken apart. Instead, it entered a stall that the pilots never recognized. For over 3 minutes, the aircraft fell nose up, engines producing thrust, alarms sounding, while the crew repeatedly made the wrong inputs. The voice recorder captured confusion, disbelief, and mounting panic. At no point did the pilots realize the plane was stalling. The final moments recorded calm voices discussing altitude seconds before impact. The ocean kept this secret for 72 years. In 1945, the USS Indianapolis delivered key components of the atomic bomb to Tinian Island. Days later, it was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine. The ship sank in 12 minutes. Nearly 900 sailors ended up in the water. Sharks arrived within hours, and over 4 days, exposure, dehydration, and repeated shark attacks reduced the survivors to just 316. For decades, the exact wreck location remained unknown. In 2017, a privately funded expedition finally found it more than 18,000 feet down in the Philippine Sea. The wreck was shockingly intact. Hull numbers were still visible, anti-aircraft guns were frozen in place, personal equipment lay scattered across the seabed. The recovery confirmed survivor accounts that had been doubted for years. The ship went down fast, the distress signals were never received, and the crew was abandoned not by incompetence, but by silence. The ocean floor validated one of the most horrific survival stories in naval history. Divers expected to find shipwrecks, but instead they found entire submarines built for crime and intentionally sunk. In recent decades, law enforcement agencies have discovered dozens of homemade submarines on the ocean floor, particularly in the Atlantic and Pacific substance trafficking routes. These vessels were built by criminal organizations to transport illicit substances across oceans while avoiding detection. Once the cargo was delivered, crews would intentionally scuttle the submarines and abandon them. Some of these wrecks were found with supplies still on board, others showed signs of sudden flooding, a few were located with human remains inside, suggesting something went wrong during the voyage. They found the ship deeper than any warship wreck ever discovered, and it proved the crew fought until the very last second. In October 1944, the USS Johnston, a small American destroyer, charged directly at a vastly superior Japanese fleet during the Battle of Lake Gulf. The ship was outgunned outnumbered and doomed. In 2021, the wreck was found nearly 21,000 feet below in the Philippine Sea. This made it the deepest known shipwreck ever discovered. The condition of the wreck stunned historians. Gun turrets were still aimed forward, torpedo mounts were in firing position. The ship showed signs of massive damage, but also signs of continued combat until sinking. The wreck confirmed survivor accounts that the crew continued fighting even after losing steering, communications, and power. The ocean floor preserved physical proof of one of the most desperate and heroic last stands in naval history. The ocean floor contains nuclear weapons that were never recovered, and governments quietly stopped looking for them. In 1966, a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber collided mid-air with a refueling plane over Spain. 4 hydrogen bombs fell from the sky, 3 were recovered on land, and 1 vanished into the Mediterranean Sea. After an intense search, the bomb was located more than 2,500 feet underwater. Recovery teams confirmed it was intact, but the search revealed something worse. This was not the only nuclear weapon lost at sea. During the Cold War, multiple nuclear bombs and reactors were accidentally dropped into the ocean due to crashes, sinkings, and emergency jettisons. Some were recovered, others were not. Sonar surveys and classified naval records confirm that several nuclear devices still rest on the ocean floor today. Their exact locations remain classified, their condition is unknown, and the disturbing reality is that some of the most powerful weapons ever created are just sitting in darkness beneath the waves. The ocean exposed a friendly fire tragedy no one wanted to admit. German submarine U-869 vanished in 1945. For decades, the U.S. Navy believed it had sunk off Africa. In 1991, divers discovered a U-boat wreck off the coast of New Jersey. It was U-869. The wreck showed damage consistent with American depth charges, not German scuttling. Historical records were re-examined. The truth emerged that the submarine had been sunk by U.S. forces off the American coast, and the mistake had been covered up. Inside the wreck, divers found human remains still trapped at their stations. The ocean floor revealed a wartime error buried by paperwork. They found what remained of the deepest dive ever attempted. In 1960, the bathyscaphe Trieste descended nearly 36,000 feet into the Challenger Deep. Decades later, pieces of wreckage from experimental deep-sea vehicles were found scattered across the trench floor. Crushed metal, shattered viewports, and failed pressure housings told a brutal story of engineering limits being exceeded. Some of the wreckage belonged to unmanned probes that imploded instantly. Others showed signs of gradual structural failure. The ocean floor became a graveyard of human ambition. When they finally found the submarine, it was crushed so completely that the Navy realized the crew never knew what killed them. In 1963, the USS Thresher was conducting deep dive tests in the Atlantic Ocean when it suddenly stopped responding. On board were 129 sailors and civilian technicians. The submarine vanished during a routine test dive, and months later, deep-sea search equipment located the wreck nearly 8,400 feet below the surface. What investigators found was disturbing. The submarine had imploded. The hull was scattered across the seabed in thousands of pieces. Analysis of the debris showed that a single pipe joint likely failed, flooding the engine room. The reactor shut down automatically, and without power, the submarine could not surface. As it sank deeper, the pressure exceeded the hull's limits. The implosion would have occurred in milliseconds. The crew likely had no warning, no distress call, no final moments of panic, just instant destruction. The Thresher disaster permanently changed how submarines were built. The ocean floor proved that even the most advanced machines can fail silently. The ocean floor holds radioactive secrets no one talks about. Between the 1940s and the 1970s, multiple countries dumped nuclear waste into the ocean. Thousands of barrels were sealed and dropped into deep water. Modern surveys have located many of them. Some are leaking. Others are ruptured. Radiation levels around certain sites are elevated. Marine life shows abnormalities, and the exact contents of many barrels are unknown. The disturbing truth is that the ocean floor is still being used as a hiding place for humanity's most dangerous mistakes. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.